Salam Bacha and Khosh Omadid. Welcome to this new reading aloud session of the Book of Kings. My name is Flumas and I'm going to be your host for today's reading. And yes, Clan the Planet, that is indeed playing Evangelion, because one is a stereotypical person, is a stereotypical geek, and Evangelion is my favorite anime of all time, and that's the reason why my live streams always open with Kurendil's thesis, and they close with Fly Me to the Moon, because it's not as traumatic. I want to think that my streams are not as traumatic as one episode of Evangelion, yet as I was saying that, as the words were coming out of my mouth, I realized, do I have any right to say that? Since we are reading the Book of Kings, and the Book of Kings has indeed proven itself to be more traumatic than Evangelion itself. Salam, Umberto. It could be, though. It could be... Excuse me, I am getting rid of... I can't speak today. Yes, I'm getting rid of a cold, and it's just annoying at this stage. It's just like inconvenient. It could be, though, that Ferdowsi was indeed the cruel angel, and this was his thesis. It was him. It was him all along. And Salom Diego and Salom Klanda. I didn't say anything yet. You're very welcome to the channel, because I don't think you've ever been in any of my streams. Today what we are doing is we are reading the Book of Kings, which is the Shāh-nāmeh, this beautiful book that I'm holding here. Although I'm not going to be reading from here. There's a twist that I shall explain when time is convenient, because before you met me the other day, because all right, so for those of you who don't know, because I think pretty much you all know about this since you've been here for a while. If you made it to part 37 of the Shāh-nāmeh, you know me. We were doing, I am a Twitch user, because this, what you're listening to, is actually a Twitch live stream. And Salam Nefer! Sorry, I have the right to have a meltdown at this moment, because Nefer is back. Azizam! Oh my god! Oh my god, it's been so long! How are you? حالت چطوری؟ خوش اومدی نفر عزیز. Oh my god, we've missed. So Nefer was a quite usual in this channel, and she's been out for a while. I'm good. I'm doing fine. It's such a pleasure seeing you, Bachar, when you come back, because even if you don't speak to me, I know that you're there. And also, can I showcase on the screen? You're not seeing this if you were listening to one of the podcasts, but this is a teacup. It's a teacup. It comes with a base. It's just basically a ceramic square. So when you want to live it, you just fit the conical piece in the square base, and then you put this on the table. And I love it. It's a Christmas present I hadn't had the chance to use yet, and I thought very convenient to showcase it for a read of the Book of Kings, because tea and readings of the Shāh-nāmeh, they go together, they belong together. I was saying that for those of you who know and been here for a while, I'm a Twitch user, I'm not a YouTube user, and I'm not a Spotify / any other podcaster thingy user. I just put my things there in the world for people to listen to them, because I know it's convenient. But I meet and I do stuff with other Twitch users, and what Clan the Plant is referring to is that I was participating in a literary / writing challenge. It was very fun to come up with, and they gave me homework though. I'm not going to make it to the next challenge because life is complicated. But they gave me homework on my own creation, because I have to convey sort of a reader's guide in order to inform to everybody that's not acquainted with Iranian / Islamic culture what they're reading and what is it they're going, like the piece of writing is about. Because of course this mentions to Nowruz as one of the keywords, was one of the prompts actually was the new year, and this mentions to Nowruz, and this mentions to the jinn. Duh. It's in Spanish though. I could translate it, or at least get a better English speaker than me to translate it. If you is that something I could post that on Patreon. Umberto Azizam, would you be interested in that? I think you would like it. I think Sariel would love it. Salam Bizer, how is it you are? Thank you for joining us today. So yeah, for Glander and Diego, who I'm positive this is the first time you come to my channel and to a reading of the Book of Kings. This is a reading aloud session that I do both in Spanish and in English about the Shāh-nāmeh or Book of Kings, which is a masterpiece created by Abu Qasim Ferdowsi, who is an Iranian author, around the year 1010. Not around, he finished the epic poetry, this epic poem, he finished that in 1010. The Shāh-nāmeh deals with the mythical and semi-historical past of Iran since the beginning of time until the arrival of the Arab armies. So 7th century Common Era. And its pure mythology is packed to the brim with teachings, Zoroastrian folklore, Islamic folklore, the own Iranian folklore, and we are just reading it and commenting as we go by. And as you can see, it's part 37, which means we had covered quite a lot. Yet we've not even made it to half of it, because this book, if anything, is long. So should you wish to engage with the rest of the reading, you're of course more than welcome to stay. But thank you so much, Nasser. There you have all the links to the readings that you can find on YouTube and on Evox and Spotify supposedly, but I'm not really sure what's going on with Spotify, because apparently not all the episodes are there. Well, like I can do something about it. But I was saying that today is going to be different because normally what we used to read is this translation by Dick Davis, edited by Penguin from 2006, because it's the one I deem the most complete. But still, it's not the most complete. Salam Yersaya. Do you like them? Thank you. They were a present from a friend, and this one little guy in here is giving me nightmares because she moves a lot and she is like twisted in my hair. But this one, I'm really happy you like them. I love butterflies. I mean, they're very, very cool, and I love them. Thank you. They're from Shane, I think, so you can get your own. And this is not publicity. This was a present from a friend that got duplicated orders and gave me those because I'm a magpie. I am all there for the shinies, and truthfully, who isn't? So I was saying that the rendition of Dick Davis is convenient because it's in prose and it's much easier as a first approach to the Book of Kings. Unfortunately, it's not complete, and there's parts in which I don't know exactly why. I mean, I don't know the reasoning behind the selection, the choice of excerpts. ¿Qué me pasa hoy? English is not found today. I mean, hopefully it will be on for tomorrow because I have a work meeting and that one is in English. So yeah, my teapot, the one I lost the lead for. Yes. Only the OG Butcher would remember how this lead was destroyed. It didn't happen live though, but it happened, and it was a loss. Yeah, she's not there. She's still resting. But I was saying that Dick Davis, at some parts of the book, thus skirps that he just summarizes. And by summarizing, I mean that he dedicates a page, sometimes not even all of it, but a couple paragraphs, like the one you're seeing on screen right now. Wow, this is really messing with the green screen. Doesn't matter. This is a script of a very, very, well, not very, but of a very long part. Can I stop saying very? It is a script from a relatively long part regarding how the events occurred after the passing of Seabos, the murder of Seabos, and the rise to Kai Khosrow to power. We read some of it last time we were here. We read how Kai Kavus, not Kai Kavus, I'm sorry. We read how Kai Khosrow was presented to Afrasiab and how Piran was taking care of him and Farigid. We read that. However, I was considering not reading all of it. I thought at first that I would just read the summary and then continue. But then, upon further meditation, given that I have the sources to read it to you, I thought it would not be really okay with just me skipping parts of the Book of Kings, because the rise to power of Kai Khosrow is very interesting, because we give closure to many interesting characters that we've been dealing with in the last sessions, the last four, 5, 6, more, even 10 sessions. I'm sorry, I'm going to switch to Spanish for a moment. Me dice Clander Marcho, ha sido un placer pasar por aquí, me parece muy interesante lo que haces y de lo que hablas, te contactaré si no te importa para invitarte a Planeta Clander. Me encantaría ir a Planeta Clander y bueno, Clander ahora ha tocado en inglés, pero yo hago los directos en 2 idiomas, entonces cuando tú quieras en español te pasas por aquí, así que yo encantadísima. Así que un abrazo en la cabeza. Back to English. So, what we are doing today is reading these part of the rise to power of Kai Khosrow, and this is going to be an interesting one. First, I'm going to share the source from where I'm reading, which is the website of Zoroastrian Heritage of the Zoroastrian Institute. The translation here is multiple. This is a verse translation of the Book of Kings, and it's done by, well, I think I can show you. Yeah, I also showed it. I did show it. Hold on for a moment. There you go. What is that? I'm sorry. I need to. My green screen is really influencing me. You cannot see it, which I'm grateful for. But she's not having any of it. She doesn't want to cooperate today. Come on, Azizam. I know it's Monday, but there we go. Okay, so what you see on screen is the site from where I am extracting all the reading. And as you can see, it's poetry. Yes, this part is spoiler-free because we're already, well, not spoiler-free. If this is the first time you come, please don't look at it. But what I mean is we've covered this already. This is all the part in which Kai Khosrow comes to the world and how Farigid gives birth to him. And in here, in this section of the Shāh-nāmeh, you have a key to know who translated every part. And the part is followed, is finished with a capital letter indicating a translator, or in this case, a couple of them, because W stands for Warner and Warner. There's also James Atkinson and then Helen Zimmerman as the last one. What we're going to read is, don't look at it's all translated. What we're going to cover. I'm pointing at Kai Kavus for some reason. What we're going to read, which is this, it's all translated by Warner and Warner, which unfortunately, I don't know if it's one person. By the looks of it, I think it's 2 of them, but I don't know if they're siblings or related. I'm pretty sure you can find more information over here. But why is the music playing now? No, don't. Not now. It's not your time. Added them. But what we're going to push, seriously, what's going on today? What we're going to press now is play, because I'm going to start my reading. However, give me 1 minute to check up to where I read when I was reading in Spanish, because I would like to keep them both. And meanwhile, allow me to tell you why this is going to be very interesting. First things first, this is a versified version, as you saw. In Spanish, I translate and I don't translate poetry. I just translate the general idea or read exactly what it is. But there's no intention behind my translation to be accurately poetic. In here, I just read. So I think it's going to be interesting for so many reasons. The first one being that this is how the Shāh-nāmeh was conceived, to be read in verse. And this is how the Shāh-nāmeh is in all of its manuscripts. Also, it includes these parts, these fragments in which Ferdowsi, the author, just wonders and delucidates about life. In this case, for example, he goes about for a while about his old age. He just rambles, he gets quite sidetracked, but then he comes back to tell the story of what we actually want to know, which is, Cai Khosrow and what happened after the passing of Siavash, murder of Siavash. So I think it's quite interesting that you're going to be really exposed to something closer. I would love to read in Persian, but that is not happening in the near future because you need to be a very good Persian reader in order to get the Shāh-nāmeh correct. I am not. And I'm not. This is not me being humble. This is me being realistic. I cannot read the Shāh-nāmeh in Persian. I would love to one day, maybe. So, allow me to choose. We read this. We read this. Okay. All right. I know why we stopped in Spanish. So now we are going to start the poetry, the very first poetry reading of the Shāh-nāmeh. I hope you enjoy and that you would bear with me because, again, I'm not a professional poetry reader whatsoever. So there we go. We start with Ferdowsi's lament over his old age, which, if anything, is very, very amusing for me. When 60 years hang sword-like over one's head, give him not wine, for he is drunk instead with them. They give to me a staff for reins. My wealth is squandered and my fortune spent. The watchman cannot from his hill descry the countless army of the enemy, and hath not with... Oh, so it is in Old English. Because why bloody not? And hath not wit to turn away, although the spears confront the lashes of his eye. The runners too that were so fleet of yore, bend and are bound by pitiless 60. The singer is aweary of their song, and one a bolbol's note and a lion's roar. Bolbol, it's the word in Persian for, nightingale. Sorry, I was going to say ruiseñor, like in perfect Spanish. So bolbol is the word in Persian for nightingale. And it's quite a famous trope in Iranian poetry / poetry written in Persian because of the way it sings. It's beautiful, it's comforting, but it also has this notes of melancholy that poets so much like to bring up and to exploit. And since Ferdowsi is just complaining, because that's exactly what he's doing, complaining that he's old, that he's beyond 60, not bad. We're talking about the year 1010. Not bad, Ferdowsi. You're good. He's just, the melancholy of the Bolbol song. It's just fitting. Since I took up the cup of 58, the grave and shroud, naught else I contemplate. Alas, for my sword-like speech when I was 30, those luscious days, musk-scented, roseate. Quick pause over here. Ferdowsi enjoys being dramatic. It is something that he likes, and we know. But also there's this certain beauty on reading him complain that he's old in the middle of an epic story that has nothing to do with him personally. this is the little pleasures I get from the reading the Shāh-nāmeh. Drawn by pomegranate bloom and cypress bough, the pheasant haunted, not the dog rose now. Sufficient respite from my destiny, I ask the Judge Almighty to allow that from the famous tale of days gone by, I might bequeath the world a history. Such a history that whoever shall judge my work aright shall never speak of me, but lovingly. And I that am the prophet's household thrall, in dust before his mandatory fall, him of the pulpit and of Zulfakar, on him to plead my cause, avow I call. And then he himself kind of like gets back to what he's doing and says, the story of the rustic bard, again I take in hand, hate though the minstrel's strain. Okay, so before actually delving with the story and continuing with the plot, allow me to tell you what on earth has happened. Saavash was cold-blood murdered by Gorui, and what was the name of the other fella? There were two chaps that I've been watching What We Do in the Shadows a lot recently, so excuse me if I abuse the word chap. There were Gorui and what was his name? No, Zangief's from the Good Guys. Oh, sorry. There's so many characters in the Shāh-nāmeh, I cannot remember. Damur and Gorui were two Turanian soldiers that, following the orders of Gardivoz and Avraziab, parenthesis, he is the king of Turan, closing parenthesis. Gorui and Damur were two soldiers that, following the indications, the orders of Gardivoz and Avraziab, murdered Saavash in cold blood and then attempted to beat to death Farigis, who was Saavash's wife. Piran, an old soldier from Turan, interceded for the woman, and Avraziab allowed her to stay at Piran's palace to raise her kid. This kid is called Khai Khosrow, and he is now the only kid in the world that bears a mixed blood lineage, meaning that he has Iranian blood the same as he has Turanian blood. This is quite a thing, and I would love to do a good job emphasizing this because it is important. It's not just a thing. Him being mixed is going to be so fundamental to the story as it develops, and also it's unique as his. Bear in mind that Khai Khosrow is not his father. There's only one Pan de Dios, there's only one Saavash, and we are not getting a replacement ever. But Khai Khosrow is his own personality and definitely his own persona, and these aspects of him being mixed between Turan and Iran is going to be very interestingly explored as we go further reading. But now we stand in the moment in which Saavash has just been killed. Therefore, news travel through the world and they reach someone that I know you haven't missed because, oh, Pichu, thank you so much for your subscription. That is incredible. Oh, thank you so much, Captain. Hey, Captain. 15 months subscribed to this channel. Big cheers to you. Do you like my cup? It's a cone. Yes, it is a cup. See? It's beautiful. It's gorgeous. Let me see. Like, this is the base. So it's just. So yeah, we are going to welcome a character that I know that you haven't missed, who is Khai Kavus, because he is about to learn about the death of his heir to the throne, of his kid. And, well, I'll let Ferdowsi do what he does best, which is breaking our hearts. The news reached Kaikavus. The prince, the monarch of Turan, wrung off his head, as it were a bird's. On every mountaintop, wild beasts lament the guiltless. Bulbuls, nightingales, mourn upon the cypress, francolins and pheasants beneath the rose. Turan is seared and sore. Pomegranate leaves are yellow in the gardens. Gorui set down a golden bow and raised, as it were a sheep's, the face of Siavash. They cut his royal head off. There was nobody to help or plead. When Kaikavus heard this, his crowned head bowed itself upon the state. He rent his robes, he tore his cheeks, and quitted his high throne for the dust. The pain is so intense in Kaikavus that the Iranians went mourning on their way. The cavaliers put on their funeral wreaths. Their eyes wept. They cried so intensely that their eyes wept blood. The cheeks were pale. All spake of Siavash. Tus Angudars, Give, Shapur, Bahram the Lion, and Farhad, who are all they're all Iranian Pahlavan or relevant heroes. You might remember Tus and Give and Gudars. Shapur, Bahram, and Farhad have not been relevant yet, but basically what Ferdowsi is doing here is listing all these powerful, mighty soldiers and indicating that they represent the whole of the army. And remember what the book is doing. What we normally say in here is the book is a product and it is a collection of archetypes. For example, in this case, Tus, Gudars, Give, Shapur, and Bahram, being the powerful, mighty warriors, they represent the army, the entirety of the Iranian army. They are not just representing themselves individually. The characters are not individually explored that much in the book because they are serving to a higher purpose, which is transmitting a message. In this case, is that the most powerful of people in the entirety of Iran, they array themselves in black and blue, which I don't think we've mentioned this in the channel, but black and dark blue are mourning colors. In Iran, it's not just the black, as it's traditionally the Western mourning color, but the blue, this indigo shade of blue, very, very dark colored blue. This is a sign of loss and that you are in pain. Basically, all the army does this. And also Kaikavus, we see the poem cover again and describe the same activities and the same actions, tearing the cheeks and the robes, bleeding, and putting one's head in the dust, or at least grasping a handful of dust and just spreading it on the forehead and on the hair as a sign of suffering. This is something that we know and we've seen quite a lot, but basically that is Kaikavus, and I cannot help myself to not wanting him to have the right to mourn, because if Siavash is dead, it's pretty much his fault. Like, it was because of his incapability of dealing with his own household that Siavash had to flee. Because remember that Siavash chose war before his own house. He left, he abandoned his own home and went to war thinking that would be better. What situation do you really have to be in, mentally, I mean, to make that choice? That is hard. It is a hard pill to swallow, I am aware. But I like bringing these things up because, honestly, how terribly and poorly was doing Siavash that he escaped to the very moors of death to the border, feeling that like there he would be more secure and safer than in his own house. It escapes me. The stupidity of Kaikavus escapes me, I swear. That was a very Spanish A. Okay, so now Kaikavus knows, and he's absolutely destroyed. The army knows, and the generals and the fighters. But there is one person in the world that still doesn't know that Shāh-nāmeh is dead. And again, not just dead. He has been assassinated. And that person is Rostam. And listener discretion here is advised, because this is a very hard passage to read, because I know that Rostam is not my cuppa. I'm not a fan. But credit is due where credit is due. Shāh-nāmeh was Rostam's real son. Because, when Rostam lost Sohrab, and he adopted Shāh-nāmeh, he became his tutor. He taught him everything that there was to know about being a knight, being a warrior, being noble, how to behave in court, how to behave in battle, everything. Everything that Shāh-nāmeh knew about the world and life was passed on to him by Rostam. And Rostam loved this kid. We've seen that multiple times in the poem. We've been demonstrated how much Rostam cares and loves unconditionally Shāh-nāmeh. He was his prince, and I always interpret this as Rostam's atonement for the loss of Sohrab, because he killed his own son, and that was very hard. Therefore, what he's doing is, yes, atoning his bad doings, his sins, if you may, by taking care of the heir to the throne of the King of Kings. Because again, let us not forget that Shāh-nāmeh was just not merely Kaikavus' son. He was the heir, the rightful heir, with the far shining upon him, to the throne of the King of Kings. All those things aside, Rostam loved this kid. And the last time when I was reading this part in Spanish, I remembered that the last time Rostam and Shāh-nāmeh see each other, Rostam storms out because he's a brute and has like 2 working brain cells, and he gets mad at Kaikavus and he just leaves, and he never says goodbye to Shāh-nāmeh. He just like, Allah, and just that's it. So imagine the pain, the sorrow that he's going to feel in this moment. Like the sharp claws of anguish tearing off his heart. And I'm going to stop there, because I am becoming Ferdowsi myself when we hear that. Okay, so I'm gonna continue, because the sooner we deal with this, the better. The world illumining chief heard at Nimroz, veil ascendeth from Iran. The death of Shāh-nāmeh has shocked the world. Kaikavus has thrown dust on his crown and rent his robes. When basically they're telling him, and the news reached Rostam in Zabolistan, because that's where he is. Oh, apologies, Luljun. He is in Zabolistan with his father, with Zol. And the poem says, when matchless Rostam heard of the death of Shāh-nāmeh, his senses fled. A wail rose from Zabolistan, and Zal tore his cheeks and scattered dust upon his crown and shoulders. But Rostam is just destroyed, absolutely devastated. There's no There's no easing, there's no consolation of this, there's nothing. They passed a week in heaviness and mourning, a week. And then Zal realized on the 8th day that the trumpet blast rose, and at the gate of Rostam, troops were gathering from Kashmir and from Zabul. There was blood in his eyes and vengeance in his heart. And with this sentiment, Rostam marched towards the court of Kaikavuz. Okay. He's gonna have like a thing or two to say to Kaikavuz. On coming near Iran, he rent his robes, swearing by the Almighty Judge. By the way, the Almighty Judge is God. That's another name they used to refer to God. And he says, I will not rest from arms and war, or wash dust from my face, whereat we need not grieve, till I have taken vengeance for my prince. My prince, he says. Oof. This is hard. And brought our foe's head to the shares. My crown shall be my casque, my cup a scimitar, my net the leathern lasso on mine arm, until I take for our young prince's death revenge upon that Turanian dog of soul. Now he says our prince. See how painfully he is actually feeling. The sentiment is just blinded him with rage and guilt and this desire of killing, because that's basically what he wants to do. And the fact that the poem refers and makes him speak and to say my prince and then our prince, because he's aware. I think maybe not, maybe this is me reading too much into the poem, but to me, the way I interpret this, and I want to emphasize that the way I interpret this, is at first he says my prince as an indication of his personal loss and his pain, and then he says our prince because he's serving, remember, a greater good, which is the prosperity of Iran as a kingdom. And we've lost not only the best person ever to exist in the Shāh-nāmeh world building and universe and setting, but we've lost Siavash. We've lost the heir to the throne. So now, if Kaikavuz's head doesn't stay where it is, if Kaikavuz kicks the bucket, it's done. It is done. That, you know what? And he's heading to Kaikavuz's court, and I cannot think but wonder if it's Rostam who's going to personally kill Kaikavuz, because I wouldn't be surprised about it, would I? So all dust from head to foot, all covered in dust. He came before the throne of Kaikavuz, and okay, I'm gonna read in a normal tone, like the one I'm using now. But I want you to imagine that Rostam is screaming, howling at Kaikavuz. He's not speaking with tranquility and normality in this monochord tone. He's howling at him. He said, the noxious weeds that thou hast sown, O my king, are fruiting now. Thy passion for Shāh-nāmeh and thine ill bent have robbed thee of thy crown. And now thou seest clearly that thy seat is on the ocean's waves. A heavy loss has come upon Iran through the distrust and dispossession of a cruel king. For one who is the ruler of people, a shroud is better than a woman's bidding. Allow me to make a parenthesis here. Remember, this is something not nice to say about women. We know, but this is an 11th century written poem. I don't want you to like it, I just want you to understand it. There's things that are not nice said about women in this poem. But Shāh-nāmeh is a bad person. I cannot curse because I know there's children that listen to this. Shāh-nāmeh is not a nice person. She's evil. She is a representation of evil, of greediness. I'm like, ooh. So, a woman's talk has murdered Sayavosh, and blessed is she who is as yet unborn. Again, don't enjoy it, don't accept it, just understand it. And also, give Rostam some credit. He's really, really angry. Amongst the kings, there was... What is that, Pichu? I don't like kings. So everything else, I understand it as well with the lower space for improvement. I am unsure if I understand. But I can you try to rephrase that and then, because I'm not sure that I understand what you want to say, Pichu, but I think you have a point. I think you have an interesting point there. Rostam continues with his screaming into Kaikabus's face. Among the kings, there was not one like him, like Sayavosh, as great, as noble, and as reticent. Alas for that tall statue and that face that had the mien of majesty. Alas for that so famous sovereign, for time will never look on such another. It was ever spring when he was on the throne. That is beautiful, Bacha. It was always spring when he was on the throne. That is beautiful. At feasts, he used to be the crown of kings. In fight, a pard, a tiger, and a lion. No one ever saw a man so deft of hand. Now, while I live, I give up the heart and brain to execute revenge for Sayavosh. Never shall I fight dry-eyed. That is heartbreaking. And my heart, the whole world shall endure. The fear is mad. These two verses, though, if we could pause for a moment. It was ever a spring when he was on the throne. That is beautiful. I know that Rostam is a brute because he is not the sharpest tool in the shed, but he feels so powerfully. And also, never shall I fight dry-eyed, meaning that his eyes, since the passing of Sayavosh, are going to be ever crying. That last one really moves my heart. It makes something... It tickles my brain, but not in a positive way. It's a combination, if I can be completely honest. It's a mixture between tenderness and sorrow and pain, sadness and losing, but also there's beauty in this. And I don't know, maybe I'm being, again, you know how much I love Sayavash's character, and he's a very important one for myself, because there was a time in my studies that I had to cover his story deeper, and this is a big loss. The Shāh-nāmeh has lost, importantly, I would say. There you go, Pichu. You were talking, Pichu says, about women. I don't like sexism, but I also believe strange women lying in ponds distributing swords is no basis for a system of government. It's definitely a system, not the one I would endorse. Definitely, I'm with you in that one. And I don't know about the legitimacy of a random water nymph distributing swords, as you put it. I don't... How legitimate is that? Could we have a referendum? Could we have like a general opinion on this? Can we take notes and names and phones? Okay, so after this speech of Rostam, Kaikavus perceived on Rostam's countenance how great his love was. by his tears of blood. The speech of Rostam is so intense and he gets so heated up that he ends up crying bloody tears. And for once in his life, and only once, Kaikavus is smart enough to stay bloody quiet. He doesn't reply. Out of shame, the poem says, Kaikavus said nothing. Apologies. Again, I'm sick. Apologies again. Did you hear that? Because I was coughing, but I made sure to mute the microphone. I hope for your ears. I hope I succeeded. Out of shame, Kaikavus said nothing in reply, but poured down scalding tears. The chief departed, meaning Rostam departed, and went toward the palace of Shāh-nāmeh. And I'm not proud of Rostam doing this, but I can't say that I don't understand. Rostam dragged Shāh-nāmeh from the bower by her hair, and dragged her all bleeding from her throne, and clave her asunder with his dagger in the street. While Kaikavus sat passive once more on his throne, this done, the matchless Rostam felt a pang yet keener in his heart. He sought his palace in pain and woe, with blood drops in his eyes and livid cheeks. So that just happened. Rostam just brutally killed Shāh-nāmeh in front of everyone in the street. And yet he doesn't feel any relief from that, because killing Shāh-nāmeh, although again, I'm not proud, but I understand, but killing Shāh-nāmeh doesn't bring Siavash back, and he knows. This is painful. Iran was all in mourning, and people flocked around him, around Rostam, this means, in trouble, while Rostam, for 7 days, in grief and tears, sat in his palace, wrathful and distressed. Upon the 8th, he sounded trum and drum, and to his palace came, all the important warriors of Iran, Gudars and Tus, and a very long list of people that I am not reading, not because they're not important, but because there's already enough characters in the Shāh-nāmeh for you to keep up with. And I feel if they're not about to do something very relevant for the plot that you need to click to associate a name with a character, I'd rather not read them out loud to you, because they're just gonna sound like words. But basically, Gudars, Tus, and Give are there, and also all the important people. Among them, there is Fariburz, who is another son of Kaikavus, and Rostam, to all of them, to all his friends that come to him, because this is quite moving and this is quite epic. Honestly, I need these to be made a series, animated series if possible, because this is super epic. To all his friends, Rostam said, I stake heart, soul, and body on revenge. For in this world there is no man of name in arms like Siavash the knight. Treat not the matter lightly. No one can deem such vengeance trifling. Banish all dismay and make the earth run like gin with blood. My God, while I am living in the world, I will not cease to grieve for Siavash. On that unwatered waste, where rash Gorui poured on the ground the lifeblood of the prince, I fain would shove my face and eyes. Perchance it might relieve my heart of grief for him. Perchance my hands like he's maybe secured, a yoke placed on my neck, and both my wrists bound with a twisted lasso, and myself thrown like a hapless sheep upon the ground. But if not, with my trenchant scimitar and mace I will bring doomsday on the world. Mine eyes shall see naught but the dust of the fight, and I renounce for life the cup of pleasure. There's a thing interesting enough and worth commenting in here, and that is that Ferdowsi is making Rostam retell again all the pain and suffering that Siavash went through. We could wonder how is it that Rostam knows all of this with such detail, because he was never there. And this is when I remind you yet once again that this poem is not trying to be accurate. He's trying to deliver a message. And also, this poem is very long. I think we've commented on this before on the channel, but there were professional reciters of the Shāh-nāmeh that would travel from court to court, reenacting the most famous or the more acclaimed passages. They're requested by kings, princes, and nobility. Therefore, it could be that there was a gap of time between these representations. This is the way poets and also performers have of reminding the audience what was going on, because people knew about the story of Siavash. This is very popular, but I cannot stress it enough how popular the death of Siavash is, both in manuscripts and performances. Yet it is a long stretch, and you may not see both the death of Siavash followed up by this part together. To prevent the audience of losing the plot, or like what is happening there, performers and poets will remind and re-describe the events, sort of in like a summary or in like a previously in the Shāh-nāmeh sort of style. And usually who does this are characters themselves. So it's not that Rostam witnessed the painful death of Siavash, it is that Rostam is serving as a speaker for the poem to remind you of what is going on and where are we heading, and also to give more context. And so all the knights and warriors and paladins, upon hearing Rostam, all shouted like one man, "Thou wouldst have said, Iran is seething." From the land, the uproar rose to the clouds. Earth is a lion's den. Thou wouldst have said. Then, from his elephant, Rostam dropped the ball into the cup. The troops unsheathed the sword of vengeance. Rose the din of horn, of brazen trump, and kettle drum. The world was all revenge, and thou hast said, "It is a seething sea." Earth had no room for walking. Air was ambushed by the spears. The stars began the fray, and time and earth washed hands in mischief. The Iranian warriors girt up their loins, and the Kayanid standards, the Kavus. Do you remember Kaveh? Do you remember Kaveh, the blacksmith from very, very back in Feridun times? They still use the standard of Kaveh, who was the apron of this blacksmith, that they just noted on a spear and were parading it as a symbol for war. And then Rostam of Zabolestan chose from Kabul, Iran, and from the forest of Narbonne, troops that were wielders of the scimitar. There mustered 500,000 men of war. 10,000. Hey. Apologies for my nose, it's runny, but I hope it's not too annoying. I am going to look for... You will excuse me for a moment, I shall be back in a minute. Bargashtam, I am back, regresé. Oh yeah, we were here. Okay, so now we are going to be introduced to a character that I quite fancy. He's a good lad. He's yeah, he's nice. He's very nice. I don't mean it in a okay, maybe because you're not seeing me, like watching my face, but I mean it. He is a fine lad. His name is Faramard, and he is the son of Rostam. Now, I know there's questions. When has it happened? When has Rostam had a son? With who? Who's the mother? Is this a prince too? Does he have the far? Okay. Answers. So, the characters of the Shāh-nāmeh, sometimes they have offspring. And Ferdowsi doesn't give them any importance. And I mean, he doesn't focus on where the kids come from. Because it's not important. It might be for us. It might be for us now as modern readers. Like, you cannot introduce a character and say, oh, I am this Stanley's or Manley's son. And it's like, no, what, how? Where do you pop up? But again, remember that this is the Book of Kings. And we are we have a word count to meet. So Faramard is younger than Siavash was. He is younger than also Sohrab was, and he's just a youth. I reckon he would be around his late teens, early 20s in this case. And where has Faramard come? Let's see if we can find out, because I don't know if he has an entry on Wikipedia. No. I'm not going to read all of it. But it says Faramard is an Iranian legendary hero, a Pahlavan in Ferdowsi's Shāh-nāmeh. He was the son of Rostam. And I'm going to stop there because spoilers. And also there's a Shāh-nāmeh. The same that there was a the Skandar-nāmeh and Shāh-nāmeh. There is a Faramard-nāmeh, a story about Rostam's kid. If you would like to, I could tell you all about it because finesse. But yeah, now Rostam has a kid, and this kid is old enough to fight, and he is the leader of the vanguard of the army. There he is, Faramard. The son of Rostam was a youthful chieftain, whom, when he reached the border of Turan, the watch descried. There is the king of Sipanjab, and this king was Warazad. I know Faramard and Warazad are, that they're very close. I would do my best to try and differentiate them because I'm aware that these names are difficult. When as the blast of trump and clarion and din of Indian bells came to his ears, to Warazad's ears, the king of Sipanjab, the Turanian, he beat the cymbals and timbrels, marched out to the desert, and from the desert to a sea of blood. His troops and scimitars were 30,000 prepared for fight. Advancing from the center, he made all haste to encounter the son of Rostam, Faramard, and questioned him, and said, "Who are you? Speak. Why hast thou set thy face against this land? Comest thou in sooth by order of the king, or captain of the host? Dost thou not know Afrasiab, his kingdom, his throne and crown of majesty? Be pleased to tell me thy name, for this is thy last fight. Thy swarthy form may not give up the ghost beneath my hands, you unnamed." And Faramard, showing his true colours and presenting himself as the true son to his father, exclaims, "Ill-fated chief, the tree that bare me is a paladin, is a pahlavan," which means it's, alright, so I've never explained what a pahlavan is. Allow me to do my best. So a pahlavan is a title, is a military title, meaning knight, but in a very very high rank of a paladin. He's a chief, is a general, is someone important among the army, is a hero. A pahlavan is someone that represents all the values and ideal behavior of the military in Iran. Among famous pahlavans, we had Manusher, Rostam, Zal is also a pahlavan. Sam is also a pahlavan. Manusher was pahlavan before becoming king of kings, because you're going to tell me, but Manusher is the king of kings. Yes, he is. Yes, he is the king of kings. But also he was a pahlavan. He can be multiple things. If anything, Manusher is multifaceted. Those kind of people. Give is also a pahlavan. Tus, I'm not that sure about Tus. I mean, I'd say he is. Huh. Interesting. So yeah, I'd said Tus is a pahlavan. I actually don't know. So yeah, the tree that bear me is a pahlavan, in whose hands lions wither, while elephants grow lifeless at his wrath. But as for thee, you ill-conditioned banding of the Div. So the kid, yeah. Why should I talk to thee of how and why? The elephantine hero is behind me, with troops, a foe sufficient anywhere. He armed to take revenge for Seavosh, advancing like a furious lion. He will raise the rig from this vile land. The wind will not adventure meddling with his dust. At Son, these are his words. These are Faramaz's words. And as soon as Varazad, the king of Sipanjab, heard the young chief speak, he knew that it was useless to dispute and to negotiate, and bade the troops. He ordered, lay on, string up your bows. Both hosts arrayed themselves and donned their helmets. The war cry rose, and ears grew deaf with drumming. Now, at the sound of drum and clarion, the heart of Faramaz, of Rostam's son, began to throb. May I point that this might be the first time that Faramaz has actually been in battle, meaning that this is his first real encounter face to face with an enemy. Perhaps he's done a lot of sparring, perhaps he's perfectly been training with all the lads and friends, but never he's been in a real fight. This is his first thing. I cannot 100% assure this, but it's very likely. It is very likely that it is, given his young age. Yet, he is the son of Rostam. He came on like a mighty elephant, with loins get up and bow upon his arm. And in a single onslaught, overthrew 1,000 warriors. Yeah, for sure. We like exaggeration in here, don't we? But this is a symbol, okay? This is a metaphor to tell you that Faramard is dope and powerful. سلام تابین خوبی؟ Where am I? Yeah. Then, turning back with the spear in hand, Faramard he sought for the king of Sipanjab, and when he saw the Turanians lead the flag, rushed like a lion from among the troops, and giving to his sable steed the spur, and stiffening the clutch upon his lance, struck the king of Sipanjab, and blow upon the girdle, so that couriers and buckle break, and took him in such a fashion from the poplar saddle that thou had said he dealt with a fly. So this is how little the king of Sipanjab waked for Faramaz, like nothing, because he is as strong as his father. Nah, man Hispaniaim, Khosraktam. I'm not Iranian, by the way. This is a question that I have asked. I've been asked a lot. I understand. But no, I'm not Iranian. I poorly speak Persian. And I'm Spanish. that's it. Highly Dozoram. I am in fact reading it right now. I mean, if you can see in the title, this is a live reading of the Shāh-nāmeh. We are reading the part in which Faramars, well, not Faramars, everybody goes to Turan to avenge the death of Siavash. And Faramars is just there in the vanguard of the army, dealing with a problem that has been a problem no more, because he's basically massacred all the Si Punjabi. And again, he is the kid of Rostam. He is Rostam's kid. Of course he is. We did. So Faramars flung the king of Si Punjab upon the dust, and then dismounting, while oftentimes invoking the name of Siavash. This is how involved in this everyone is. Because even if Faramars never had the chance to meet Siavash, and this is something we don't know because the poem doesn't specify if they met in, or even if they were, friends or anything, they are aware of each other. They know each other, and in this case, particularly, Faramars is, like Rostam was doing before, he's embodying the sentiment of all the Iranian army, which is this raging fury of revenge at Siavash's murder. That's the reason why he screams his name often as he is killing Turanians, because they are doing everything for him and in honor to redundantly honor his murder and his person. While invoking Siavash's name, Faramars cut the head of his illustrious foe, and blood boltering his raiment, exclaimed, "See the first," like this kid just cut, first of all, the head of a grown man. Again, incredibly powerful and mighty, physically powerful, because I don't know if you ever cut things, but this is not easy, okay? It's not that simple as movies and literature want us for it to believe. So he cut the head of the king of Si Punjab, which is the first enemy of Iran, is the first Turanian that in this military movement they've killed, and he waved the head, he held it up in the air so everyone can see, screaming, "See the first head of our revenge. The seed that has been scattered sprouted from the dust." And then immediately the Iranian soldiers gave up all the kingdom of Si Punjab to the flames. The reek rose to high heaven, and Faramars wrote to his father, respecting Varazad and explaining what happened. He said, "I opened wide the door of war and vengeance. I took him from his cell of poplar wood, cut off his head, so doth revenge require for Siavash, and set his land on fire." So in this letter, what Faramars is doing is explaining, he's not solely explaining to his father what happened and informing him, he even giving the battle, the battle report, and he's showcasing how much he cares for this cause, that he's followed his father, well, not followed because he's in the vanguard, but you understand what I mean, that he's following his father and embarking on this revenge journey blindly and willingly. There's nothing stopping the Iranians at this point, because Rostam is angry. Because Rostam is very angry, and in all fairness, who wouldn't? I am angry. I am my blood is curdling at this moment, because every single time I read and go back through this passage of the Shāh-nāmeh, it's painful. I can't English today. You haven't read the Shāh-nāmeh, Tobin? Ever? Not even a passage in school? Or because this is something many Iranians have told me, that they haven't read the Shāh-nāmeh. They know the stories of the Shāh-nāmeh, but they never read it properly, as in, and then read it. Unfortunately, I would love to answer you in Persian, yet I'm afraid I cannot, because I can't. But this is good. This is good for me. This is good input, because this shows me that I need to keep up with my Persian learning. I was able to hold a conversation when I was living in Iran, but not anymore. Because I haven't continued studying, and second, I don't have someone to talk to regularly in Persian. In Iran, I only could speak Persian, so that made the improvement so much quicker and easier. Okay, so I cannot close the book because we're not reading, but I'm going to do it anyway because, dramatism. This is how far we are going to go in today's reading of. So, Bacha, thank you. Thank you so much for have accompanied me in today. Bloody and, the thing, the bloody passage, because definitely there's been a lot of blood. A lot. And let me tell you, there's more to come. Oh, so you haven't read it ever? You are just dumb. You are lucky today, because and this is what I do. By the way, my name is Dr. Plumas, Plumas Hanum, Plumas Doctor, and I am a PhD in literature and modern languages, and the Shāh-nāmeh is in fact one of my area of expertise, and I am reading it aloud for the people on Twitch. If you'd like, there's multiple. Oh, my vizier, no soy Ross, are you still there? He shared all the links, but I cannot remember where they were. Wait, I'm going to. There I go. I got them. I got them. Thank you. In here, you can see all the parts of the reading, because as you can see in the title, this is part 37. I mean, we are with Kai Khosrow, and Sayavosh is already dead. So if you wish to listen to the other 37, there they are. And again, Bachar, apologies for my voice. I hope it has not been so distracting or so, annoying to listen to me cough and carraspear. I don't know how to say carraspear in English. How do you say that? Oh, clear your throat. You don't have a birth for carraspear? Seriously, English, what's wrong with you? Why don't you? This is not clear in my throat. This is carraspear. The more you know. I'll never stop wondering why English is so specific for some things and yet so general, you could say, for some others. But this is how far we're going to cover today, and I am very happy that you have accompanied me. And what about we need to say goodbye for now. Sorry, I thought I was pressing something else, and then turns out I pressed the see you soon screen. Nah. We're here, and we are. Oh, this is a little bit too high. We are going to say goodbye for the session. Again, thank you for accompanying me, and I hope you enjoyed somehow the reading of the Book of Kings, because I always hope you enjoy, but I am very much aware that some parts are not enjoyable. Oh, no worries. It's my bigger pleasure. It is great. I love Iranian history and literature and art and poetry. So this is not a burden at all. And I think it's fascinating. In fact, I professionally dedicated part of my life to it. So it's only enjoyable to share it with you, Bachar. So, what else does me to say? Not much, I think. So, you want to keep up with what the project is doing. You know that you can follow the links, the Telegram channel, and you can join the Discord server. I would love to see you there. And that's pretty much it. Stay safe, stay hydrated, and don't forget. I was gonna say don't remember. No, don't forget to create, explore, and have loads of fun. Until I see you, Bachar, next time, I bid you Khodafez.